one. The player who is going to be given the Conn Smythe this year led the playoffs in scoring and broke Wayne Gretzky's assist record for playoffs. The winner of the Conn Smythe is Connor McDavid.
Oh, man. 42 points in 25 playoff games. I think I said 27 before. 42 and 25. One of the best postseasons of all time. Broke Wayne Gretzky's assist record in the postseason. He was remarkable. He had 2 consecutive 4-point games in the Stanley Cup final, did Connor McDavid. By the way, the Fan Morning Show is brought to you by Guardian Protection. I said it, I think, last Friday. You got to give him the Conn Smythe. He's been that good. They're not in this position. The comeback is not on if Connor McDavid is not as good as Connor McDavid has been. But he has 0 points in his last 2 games. And I'm sorry for waffling here and changing my opinion, but a lot of people were calling this the biggest hockey game ever. And he no-showed. 2 shots on goal. No assists, no goals, nada, zilch, bupkis. Florida deserves credit for taking him out of it, understandably so. But it ain't like he hasn't gotten the attention in every single game, every single shift that he's played in these playoffs. He did nothing. I would have given the Conn Smythe to Bobrovsky, who was excellent in the third period of this game. And I think you have to weigh the money games more. This is as money as it gets, and he no-showed. I would not have given him, I would not have voted for him to win the Conn Smythe, Dorin.
Yeah, the whole situation where I would have voted for him to win was if he completed the series and just fell short. But the fact that he didn't have any points in the last game, didn't have any points last night, I mean, if he would have scored the 1 goal that they had, I probably would have felt better of giving it to him.
I agree with that.
But to no-show, like that, to me, you got to give it to somebody at least on the winning team. And I agree with Bobrovsky. He was fantastic. But to no-show, that's tough. That's tough. He had fantastic throughout the playoffs.
Imagine the criticism that LeBron James would get.
Exactly.
If they came from behind and he misses a 3-pointer to win the game. That would be all anybody nationally the talking heads would talk about. Stephen A. Smith, you can't give him the MVP?
And especially the perception of it and being in Florida. And to have those fans so excited that they won the Cup and to hear you played the clip and you hear the boos. Like, I would be pissed if, say the Penguins played whoever and they gave the MVP. Say the Penguins won Game 7 here for the Stanley Cup and they gave the MVP to somebody else. You know how mad fans would be in Pittsburgh?
Yes. The Penguins are your Stanley Cup champion, and now your Conn Smythe winner, Henrik Zetterberg.
You're right.
Pavel Datsyuk.
Right.
Or Pekka Rinne.
Exactly. Exactly. That's another part of it. Like, you're in Florida, they win, they come through. I mean, that's
and that
tough.
win is stones. And he got them there. He helped get them there, Connor McDavid did. But it's the same conversation we had when the Penguins missed the playoffs, not this year, but the year before. And the top 6 was healthy. And Sidney Crosby was really good. And we were blaming people. They didn't make the playoffs. Okay, who's to blame? Well, we couldn't blame Crosby, right? At least in the week leading up to it. This is not Crosby's fault. But in that game that they lost to the Chicago Blackhawks in, Sidney Crosby didn't do jack crap.
Right.
And you win that game, you beat Columbus at the end of the year, you make the playoffs. He got them there, did not do enough in those moments, and so he had to wear some of the blame. Connor McDavid's got to wear some of the blame. And then there's this really stupid thing that they do where they hand out the Conn Smythe trophy or you vote on it 10 minutes before the game's
Crazy.
over. How stupid is that? It's Canadian. They don't know what they're doing. They haven't won a cup since 1993. It's ridiculous. Connor McDavid, he could have been, I guess because they had already determined it was going to be Connor McDavid.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. 10 minutes left, whatever. Like, I would wait till the end of the damn game. Like, if he scores to tie it, scores in overtime, then yes, of course. If he scores and it goes to overtime and they lose, yes, of course, but it's like Barry Bonds going 0 for 5 in Game 7 of a World Series where he hit 6 home runs the rest of the World Series. Do something in the money game.
Yes, that's the money game. It's the game that matters. It's the game that you win the championship. You have to show up if you are warranted of winning something like that. You have to show up, and he didn't. And I don't think he was warranted. And I changed my opinion. I was waffling as well. I would have given it to him going up until the last game, and then he didn't have any points. He didn't do anything. And in this game, he didn't do anything. So it's kind of hard for me to say that he deserved to win that.
Yes.
It's very hard. Now, he's a fantastic player.
Oh, my God.
Like that. Without all that being said, I mean, he is the face of the NHL.
No question about that.
And moving forward for a long time.
And the eye test is different to me than accomplishment. I don't think, certainly now, because this was a massive missed opportunity, that Connor McDavid will ever be as decorated a player as Sidney Crosby. No, he's won 3 MVPs, so he's got the individual accolades. No, he's a Art Ross guy all the time. He's probably going to win a few more of those at the very least. But he's not going to have 3 Stanley Cup championships.
What year is this for him?
He's been in the league for like a decade now.
Wow.
His career, man, is going really quick, I think. It feels like it's flying
8.
by. You might be 9 years, split
9.
the difference. So he's played 9 years.
And it took Crosby 4 years to win a cup?
Crosby won it in year 3.
3.
And he was there in, year 4. Yeah, you're right, year 4. Because he broke in, and then they lost to Ottawa, and then they lost in the Stanley Cup final to Detroit, and then they won. So year 4, yeah, good point. And it's tough. He's only going to be 28 years old, got a long career ahead of him. But if you look at Gretzky, if you look at Lemieux, if you look at all the greats of all time, more often than not, you're winning your championships in your 20s.
Yes.
And he's not cheap. And Draisaitl's not cheap. And I don't think the roster's all that good around those guys. So all credit to him for getting them to that point because he was elite. However, when you needed him most, he was a complete and utter total no-show. I'll stop short of calling him a fraud because of everything else that he did, but he was a total no-show. My eye test, what I was going to say is just watching him, he's a better two-way player now than he's ever been at any other point in his career, which it took a while for Crosby to develop that. As far as an offensive force, eye test, statistically, better offensive player than Crosby has ever been.
Yes.
The Crosby's most points he ever had in a season was 120. He was on pace to have 130 some odd points before David Steckel took him out in that Winter Classic, where he had 32 goals and 66 points in 41 games. My God. But McDavid had 153 points in 2022. He had 132 points this year. He had 123 points in 2021. He's the best player in the sport.
Yes.
But he's never going to be as decorated as Crosby. And I'd be lying if I said I did not take a little bit of delight in that. I threw my Penguins cap on today. Sidney Crosby. Watch the throne, baby.
I wonder how Crosby, honestly.
Great question.
I mean, ultimate pro, and I know that people will be like, he loves the game. He loves, he's the ultimate teammate and ultimate supporter. I'm willing to bet that he's kind of laughing a little bit. Not laughing, but like, oh, okay.
It probably doesn't bother him that McDavid lost.
There you go. Thank you. It doesn't bother him.
Yeah. I think he understands greatness, and he loves the history of the sport. And so if McDavid won, I think he would go, yeah,
that's awesome.
He deserves it. That's awesome, yeah. But I don't think it hurts him that he lost.
Nope.
Pony said this weekend, somehow he ran into a member of the a player from the 1993 Montreal Canadiens who said that they were rooting for Edmonton to lose because they want to be the last Canadian team to win the cup.
Mm-hmm.
There was a picture of Lemieux, of Crosby, and McDavid back when I think McDavid was playing for Erie. And, I mean, you talk about a photo with talent.
Man.
Oh, my God.
Man.
And Connor McDavid looked like he was about 4. So did Crosby in that picture, actually. But the reason I bring up the 93 Canadian team is it's like the Dolphins. When teams, finally lose a game in the regular season, they pop that champagne, Mercury Morris and all that. I bet you Crosby's like, yeah.
Well, didn't Larry Zonka, wasn't it just like last week? Wasn't he ranting about we were the best team ever?
Yeah.
Or something like that?
They have a ton of pride in that. Hey, they should. Why not? You got a thing? Keep the thing. But I do wonder. I think McDavid's gonna win one eventually, right?
Man, it's hard. We saw Florida do it last year to this year. I get it. And we've seen the Penguins do it. We've seen teams do it before. But it is hard. And you just said, like, they cost a lot of money. The Draisaitl, his teammate, it is very, very hard. And you get there and you smell that and you want to get back so bad. But so is every other team wants to, too.
Do you feel bad for him at all because of that?
I do.
Yeah.
I do, because I know that he tried every ounce of effort that he could give as a hockey player. From just thinking back whenever he was little and probably shooting his garage and breaking his parents' stuff and doing this, just dreaming to be like Mario Lemieux or Wayne Gretzky or Sidney Crosby. And you finally get to that moment and you're regarded as this big-time player and maybe one of the best of all time, at least in that realm. And you get that close to smelling it. And you fight back the whole series to bring your team, to will your team back. And you get right there. It's in reaching distance to grab that trophy. And it slips out of your hand. That's tough.
And he did not affect the game positively.
Right.
Which I'm sure he is absolutely killing himself for.
Yes.
No doubt about that. I think Lemieux and McDavid are the two probably most talented players I've ever seen. You can't take away from Gretzky's talent. I think Lemieux was more talented because he was this physical freak. And this, I was saying,
6'7",
oh my God.
6'8" on skates.
Yes. I mean, he was a pterodactyl out there, this guy, and the way that he skated and just gliding and his shot and everything. Lemieux could do everything. Everything. 5 goals, 5 different ways. But Crosby's more accomplished than Lemieux from a winning standpoint. Mm-hmm. And he's going to ultimately be more accomplished than McDavid. The same way that Gretzky is more accomplished than Lemieux, even though I think most would argue that Lemieux was the more prodigious talent.